Well, I think just looking back at Saturday's game, the first about 18 plays, I thought we were a little bit lethargic, a little bit of, it's human nature. I mean, when you have a big win, a big rival win, I felt like that we were kind of still living in the past a little bit. But once we kind of got out of that and they scored that touchdown, then all of a sudden we started playing with a sense of urgency and, had a turnover, had some 3 and outs, had a 4 and out, had, and then before you blink an eye, it's 42-7. So I felt like there was a stretch from about play 18 to probably somewhere around play 80 that I thought we really, picked up the tempo and started dominating the line of scrimmage and eliminated some of the things that were giving us problems early in the game. They went a little bit away from what they'd shown previously from a run game standpoint. They tried to attack us on the perimeter all day long, and coming into the game, they'd run nothing but pretty much inside run. So it just took us a minute to kind of get our feet back on the ground. But after they scored that first touchdown, I was very pleased with our performance defensively. And then wasn't real happy about the, we end up fumbling the punt down there, and we're up 42-7. We go out there and gave up a 2-play drive in the red zone. I was a little bit disappointed in that, and the fact that I just didn't feel like we just kind of went out there and what a ball that I thought was going to be intercepted ends up splitting 2 defenders and scoring a touchdown. So, probably, looking at it with a little bit of critical eye, but I mean, I was very disappointed myself because I felt like, we had played really well, and then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter it just turns into just kind of a get this thing over. Yeah, that was pretty much my take on it. I mean, but anytime when, you sit here and you look at our season, I mean, the longest run on us this year from the line of scrimmage, if I'm not mistaken, is like 26 yards, and that was a misalignment against Michigan State. And then now the second longest run has come the last 2 weeks. We had, going into that game, it was the quarterback scramble at BYU, and then this weekend, obviously, I think we gave up a 25-yard run on a quarterback scramble. So I'm pleased with, our run defense. Obviously, we can get a lot better, and we just got to get most of the stuff that we've given up this year has been self-inflicted, and Saturday was no different.
You mentioned that they decided to run outside. That seemed to be what everybody was saying, that the Aggies were vulnerable to give up defensively. Yeah. So what have you done, I mean, without giving away all the secrets, to shore up that area?
Well, we're a 3-4 defense, and when you sit there and you really look at what people have done to us. I mean, Michigan State got us on a jet sweep. Obviously, Air Force tried to attack us on the perimeter. But that was by design from our part. I mean, I would rather the ball be running sideways than I would through the heart of your defense. So if the ball's running to the perimeter, and what offenses are doing these days with the RPOs, they stretch you horizontally to run the ball and throw it as well. So a lot of those passes that you saw from UNLV were obviously RPs where they got the run pass option, which is basically triple option. So it slows your safeties down and coming and getting involved in run support. So as long as people keep trying to attack us to the perimeter, I'll be happy because the ball's not running through the heart of our defense, and that's what we build everything around. We play our 3-4 out of our base. And our whole thing, we tell our kids the ball's not going to run through the heart of our defense, and it hasn't. So anybody wants to keep challenging us to the perimeter, keep going, and we'll hold up fine.
It's been a long time since Utah State's had this consistent of a pass rush. Tyler Fackrell provided that a few years ago. But in terms of just several guys who could do it, this is the best in several years. So how much more dynamic has your ability to rush the passer made this defense?
Well, I think it's really a combination of a lot of things. I mean, obviously, TIPA presents a problem for people on the perimeter. John Trail Rockmore has become an explosive blitzer from the field. And then now you've got Sully coming back, which is now going to expose some people up in the inside, as well as Woodward. you know, who is an effective pass rusher up inside. So I think just keeping people off balance, where's the pressure coming from? You know, I sit there and I think I counted in the last 2 games, there's 9 different blitzes from a man pressure standpoint that people have to prepare for. You know, that and it's all, it comes from different angles and from, you know, different disguises, different fronts, different personnel groupings in our defense. So I think it makes us very multiple, and it's been big for us to this point.
Coach, it seems like David Woodward's kind of snuck up on a lot of people this year, at least the fans outside of the program. I mean, now he's top in the conference in tackles, one of the better, 3 sacks the other day. Just tell me a little about David Woodward and what he's done to this team.
He's obviously, I mean, I recognized it from the day I got here and watched his video. I mean, I knew he has a tremendous upside. His better days are obviously in front of him. He reminds me a lot of Nick Kwiatkowski that I coached at West Virginia, plays for the Bears. I think he'll be a big-time Mike linebacker in the league, just because he's incredible. As far as I mean, the thing that shocked me more than anything is his ability to run. I had no idea. I mean, you can take the guy out, put him on a number 2 slot receiver, and he'll cover him all day long. I mean, and that's where I noticed it was when we're matching him up on Dax in the springtime. And I mean, I'm not going, man. Hey, the good news for you is it's not ever going to get any worse than that, probably, in our conference. If you can cover that guy, you can cover anyone. And he was. I mean, so that's when I thought, man, this kid can be special. You know, and he just comes to work every day and never says a word, doesn't say 2 words, just does what he's supposed to do. And we've been challenging to become a consistent player. And, you know, somebody was telling me earlier, I mean, what is it, one of maybe a handful of guys that's had 10 tackles and 3 sacks in a game this season. I mean, yeah, the only one. I mean, he's very versatile. I mean, can run, can cover, can blitz, and really good versus the run.
How nice has it been for you to finally get all the linebacker guys back healthy to do what you want to do defensively?
Well, I think my thing defensively is you got to have continuity. I mean, I think that's been part of our problem. Why I don't think we've played to our potential yet. We're just, I'm a little bit different than the structure that they've used in regards to, I believe in defending formation structures. And that takes a lot of communication prior to the snap. And when you have different people playing all the time, I mean, through the first, 5 games or so, it seemed like there was different people on the field all the time. And I think it kind of holds you back on some of that stuff. So therefore, you see a misalignment against Michigan State, and you see a miscommunication in the Michigan State game that led to another touchdown. I mean, if not, we're sitting here, we're 6-0. Now that last drive, they're going down the field. It's going to be 31-23. Possibly, if we don't make those critical communication. And I think it's just the inconsistency of the people that are on the field at the same time. I'm big on continuity and having one voice and our guys communicating and all being in sync. And I hope that's what you'll start to see. Sully obviously is a very versatile player for us. He's an explosive blitzer. He's very, very instinctive, and had probably the best spring of all of the linebackers. And then Chase has just been, he's a guy that's just kind of, he's going to throw it about 85 miles an hour right down the middle of the plate, and he's just very, very consistent with his performance, and has really good leadership from a standpoint of his age and experience.
Coach, you have 7 interceptions so far in the season. Can you tell how much is based on instinct and experience as a player, or how much is based on just game film study?
Well, I think without just going back and looking at each individual interception, I'd say it's probably a combination of both. I mean, I know the one against Michigan State with Gage was definitely film study and preparation with the personnel they had on the field. We kind of knew what to expect in that situation. So that was a nice heads-up play, combination of instincts and preparation. I think it's all, and we have a very definitive plan when we do intercept a football, and we truly expect, we almost treat it like a punt return. We think that, hey, there's 5 guys that should have no chance to tackle you. You're a skill player. There's 5 offensive linemen on the field, so we don't block any of those guys, and we go block the quarterback and the skill people, and we shield all blocks, and we try to get the ball to the near sideline and go score. So a lot of that is, by design. I mean, look at what we did at Arizona State from an interception and touchdown, return for touchdowns was pretty good. And it's been that way over our career where we've tried to, it's a combination of both, I would say. Natipa's, that's just athletic ability, coupled with, I was more shocked than anything that it was 4th and 1 they threw it. I mean, but you know what? I mean, that was pretty much just talent. I mean, guy jumps up and he's about 3 feet off the ground and makes a great play. So a lot of that was just flat ability. I mean, we weren't obviously expecting to pass on 4th and 1.
Do most teams practice interception returns? Most defense?
I'm not sure. We I don't know if we necessarily practice it, but we emphasize it, in practice.
Okay.
And when we do pick a ball off, we fully expect to go score. And it's just something, I think you get what you emphasize.
Give us a read on Wyoming's team. You've probably looked at it more than all the players by now.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're struggling offensively.
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on. I mean, they got 2 guys that look like those mountains over there at tackle. I mean, good grief, 6'7", 300 and whatever pounds. I mean, got running backs that run hard. They got a big quarterback that's got a strong arm. Got receivers. There's just I think that's fair assessment that, they just haven't been able to. But on the same hand, they try to win their game, build it around the defense and play great defense and manage the game offensively. And if you always look at it, for most of the time, they're in it at the end of the game. They give themselves a chance to win. They just came up a little bit short against Hawaii. Had an opportunity to score there at the end of that game. Could have been a different outcome. But they just built things where they're going to play great defense and just manage the game offensively and take what you give them. And it all revolves around, you got to stop the run. You can't let them sit there and run the football and become multi-dimensional by play action and getting the ball out on the perimeter with boots and nakeds. And we got to do a good job keeping him in. He's very elusive for a big quarterback. So we got to keep him in the pocket and make sure that we're sound vertically in our coverage and stop the run for sure.
Because Evans has been hurt a little bit, and now he's back. He looks like he can be a strong runner, but also a breakaway guy.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's a guy that runs extremely hard. I mean, they're very simplistic in their run game, and like anybody else, I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to attack us on the perimeter with speed option and jet sweeps and stretches. And again, I think a lot of it that we have corrected, and hopefully we'll continue to be sound this weekend.
We're halfway through the season, and you guys haven't given up a 100-yard rusher yet. So, just tell me how much pride as a defensive coordinator you take in that, because that's something the Aggies have struggled with the last couple of years.
I wasn't aware of that. I mean, we just every game plan's the same. I mean, we sound like a broken record. I mean, it's all about stop the run. If we can make people one-dimensional, we have enough. I think coverage and pressure to where we can make it very difficult on people, and we can tee off on them if we know that you can't run the football. But yeah, it's been good. I mean, we've tweaked some things from things they've done in the past to some things that we identified that we thought could make us a little bit tighter in our run fits, and we put a major emphasis on it, and it showed up. So yeah, that's pleasing to know that. I mean, I don't look forward to that to change anytime soon.
Because really, when we talk to the players, we ask them what's the difference, what's going on, and there's Tipa and there's Leilua who are now playing, and you. Those are the 3, and they all mention KP. They all mention you. So
I hadn't tackled anybody yet.
Coach David
Yeah.
Woodward said on our postgame show that Lexington Thomas was the best back that he had seen so far this season. Do you agree with that?
I do. I mean, because he's just different. I mean, the other backs that we've faced have ran hard, a little bit bigger type. He's the one guy that, I mean, obviously going into the game, I mean, there was a reason I didn't watch last year's game. I mean, or I might have been a little bit more nervous than what I was. But, you know, the thing that I'd seen from him is he was very shifty, so you might have him contained. All of a sudden he jump cuts and he gets the ball going north and south, and now he's got breakaway speed. So I was very pleased with the fact. There's a couple of times where we missed tackles on him. We tried to knock him down. I emphasized to our players all week long, you're not knocking him down. He's like a cat. You throw him off the roof, he's going to land on his feet, and you couldn't knock him down. He has unbelievable balance, and I showed him illustration after illustration. First long run he has, I think 11 yards or so, we tried to knock him down right at the line of scrimmage, and we had a great run fit, tried to knock him down, boom, there he went. So yeah, he was good because he's a home run threat. You know, he's a guy that could take it. Obviously, I mean, he was averaging well over 100 a game coming into that game. So yeah, we were concerned about his ability to get in open space.
We've been playing great run teams all season long. How does this Nico Evans and this Wyoming run game stack up with some of those other?
You know, I think comparable to, you know, some from a stylistic standpoint, Michigan State and BYU. You know, big offensive linemen. You know, I would say he's probably like Squally at BYU. I mean, would probably be a comparison. You know, and they're just massive at offensive tackle. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I can't quit looking at those guys. I mean, it's just like unbelievable. But you know, again, we're excited about the challenge and the opportunity, and all we're focused on is just trying to, you know, get our third win in the Mountain West, and then we'll cross the next bridge when it gets here.
Aaron Wade's a guy that's been in the program for 5 years now, being a senior. What does he bring to the back end of the defense?
You know, I mean, he's obviously, you saw what he did when Gage was unable to go, and I mean, Mountain West Player of the Week. So the thing that's been pleasing to me is that we challenged him early in the year to become more consistent in his preparation, more consistent in his practice habits, and it showed up. And so now he's bought in because he saw the carryover from preparation and practicing and learning how to just trust your training. I mean, and so therefore he's become a more consistent player. And obviously he's big for us on special teams, and we've tried to create roles and personnel packages where he's more involved in the defensive scheme, as well as, you know, he just happens to play behind a guy that's playing very steady, and so we're trying to figure out ways to use both those guys as well.
Looking back at the game, it was really started off kind of like we expected. We were able to get down the first drive, a couple explosives early in the drive, and then got down in there, got stopped, had to settle for a field goal, which you never like doing that. You always want to come with touchdowns, but we started the right way there, and then really our probably worst drive of the game came next when in the coming out situation. We basically 2 of the 3 plays we don't execute well, and then really for the next 5 drives after that drive when we had to punt, kind of things were clicking, and we made plays. Our guys made plays, put ourselves in position. Jordan made throws, but the whole group in that put themselves in position and got us to that with the 42 points in the first half, which that's a good way to go in at halftime, is up 42-7, and then kind of the second half really became how long were we going to play those guys, as long as we did the right things. And if we'd have come away with points on the first drive of the second half, then that group would have been out at that time, and we'd have went to the kind of our sub package and so it took us 2 drives to kind of get to that. With us not scoring on the first drive, took us down there again, a penalty put us in position that we did not come away with points. So we went out after I believe UNLV went down and scored. That next drive we went out and scored, and then we kind of decided as a staff, Coach Wells said, we're good, we're going to start subbing our guys. So we subbed out, I think about 10 of the close to about 10 of the guys came out of the game that had started it or had played a significant part early in the game, and went from there. And with the new kind of rules and everything on 4 games and that, we've been able to get a lot of young offensive linemen definitely in the game, and actually some young receivers and that, so kind of gave us a chance to get that group in. And we kind of made some decisions on that because we're still trying to protect some years on some other guys, so we kind of went with a little mishmash group of guys, not all of our 2s. Some of the linemen some of our guys are 3s, or they're new freshmen, new guys to the program this fall, so it gave them a chance to play. I think we got 20 snaps with that group of guys on the field, and Henry was part of that. Columbia did some good things, did some things we can kind of work on, but that's all part of the process.
You guys have done offenses tested well against some pretty good defenses this year. You got a pretty unique challenge this week with a veteran Wyoming defense going to Laramie, 7,200 feet. Gosh knows what the weather's going to be like. So just, yeah, I know. We'll see. But I'm just, I mean, how good of a gauge is this going to be for your offense going into that environment this week?
Oh, I mean, it'll be a tremendous challenge. They do a great job defensively with what they do. They're very set with what they are. I mean, they don't, you kind of, what you see on video is what you're going to get from them. Their guys are well coached, well schooled within their system of what they do. They fit the run game as well as anybody we've played, as far as they use the D-line on line stunts to get into certain gaps, so they have every gap covered in that, and that's why they're extremely sound in that way. Coverage-wise, they don't let a lot of balls over their heads in that. You will get some man coverage, but a lot of it's different versions of zone. Formationally, you kind of do those things, but their front 4 is as good as we're going to see in our conference and everything, and I think real comparable to the Michigan States and the BYUs, the teams we've played out of conference that had the really strong up front. So this will be a challenge for our front 5 guys and what we can do running the football, but also be able to protect our quarterback.
Give us a read on Jordan and what you have seen. I mean, he's Conference Player of the Week 2 weeks in a row. Just what can you say about him at this particular point that hasn't been said, right now, Coach?
Well, I mean, the big challenge now is be the best quarterback you can be 3 weeks in a row, and that's what we need now. Everything behind is past tense, and it's what have you done lately, and what are you going to do this week? That was a big challenge for him, was to become that week in, week out guy. We saw it last year in spurts. We saw it in the UNLV game, and then we didn't see it in the New Mexico game. Then we saw it in the second half of the Air Force game. Didn't see it at the beginning of the next game. So it has been a challenge for him, and he's done a great job of preparing himself and really not getting too high or getting too low. And he's got guys around him that make plays. I mean, he's got with the 10 dudes that we put on the field with him, he's got one of the easier jobs at playing quarterback as you're going to find, because 2 weeks in a row we have had no sacks. I think he got hit. He really got 3 times they kind of bumped into him. Really, one time they really hit him when he was in the pocket, which that's, for a quarterback, that makes life a lot easier back there when you don't think that's an issue and those type of things. And that's how it's been for a couple weeks. So he's just got to keep distributing the football, seeing what he sees, attacking them. But he's been really, really accurate with his throws. He's making great decisions. Very few balls, if any, are kind of in harm's way where you come away and say, well, that should have been intercepted, or that could have been a bad one. I mean, I think he had 5 negative plays in his 50 snaps in the game, where he kind of gets graded down, and he had more plus plays than that. So he graded out very well. But he's playing at a high level and everything. But he's got guys around him making plays, which makes life a lot easier.
Well, you've got the group of offensive linemen together last year, and then you had a little bit of an injury at the start of the year. It looks like more of the group's coming back together that was there, but then I think you like some of your younger guys there too, don't you?
Well, our depth has improved there tremendously. I mean, with the 5 returners from last year, that was a plus. Moroni got kind of dinged up in camp, so that slowed that down. But Alfred Edwards has been a tremendous kind of plus for us. Had a great spring, continued in the fall, and kind of put himself in position. We wanted to see him on the field more. It's given us the ability to move Roman around a little bit and try to get our best 5 on the field. But also, in anything competitively, competition is good. And when a guy's coming out for a series, they don't like that. and when you're able to put a good player in for them. And we've had some guys get dinged up and everything, and it hasn't affected us offensively that way because of the depth we have. But as guys get healthy, which we think a couple guys will get back this week and probably another one the following week, it changes that quite a bit. And those guys are looking over their shoulders. Or am I still in the top 5? Am I rotating here? Am I splitting time here? Am I getting pushed out of the thing? And I mean, that's what you kind of like to have. It keeps everybody a little bit uncomfortable in their role, and they understand that. And Coach Farmer does a tremendous job of, there's pressure on them all the time, not just to perform, but to be the best, to be in our top 5. Who's our top 5 lineman? Who's going to help us win the game, and who's going to put us in the best position to be successful?
Well, Coach, going along with that competition, I mean, between Darwin Thompson and Gerald Bright, it seems like they've almost split carries this season. Really, every series it seems like someone's coming in and out. How helpful has that been as a coordinator to be able to see those guys competing with each other and pushing each other?
Well, the competitive side, I mean, they're both running the ball really at a high rate. Coach Smith kind of jokes about it that when one guy gets a 24-yard run, the next guy gets a 25-yard run, and they know what the other guy's doing. There's no question about that, and they're really good teammates, and they're good friends, and they kind of feed off each other a little bit. But I can promise you, both of them would like to be the guy in the situation. So this has been a real positive for us, and and we kind of try to go in about a 2-series thing so they can get a little rhythm to themselves and everything. But I mean, the other day in the game, we at one point kind of Darwin had all the carries and had done really well in the early part of the game running the football, and at that time Bright had only had a catch, and we chart all this, so we're sitting there, and I asked Coach Smith, I go, who's got the next series? He's like, Bright's going to be. And I said, okay. I go, we're going to lean on him a little bit. And then by the end of that drive, he was at 5 or 6 carries, and now we're kind of getting evened out. But we want to keep those guys as fresh as they can, but they're both running, and they're similar backs in what they can do. So it's not like when one goes in, you say, oh, this is the run scheme we kind of go to. No, we just kind of call it. Nope. And then when Toro gets in, and he's kind of the number 3 guy, and he got dinged up a little bit earlier in the season, and by no reason of his own. I mean, what had happened was the other guys kind of took off. And I mean, our philosophy and what we talk about on offense, you don't lose your job because you get injured, but you can lose your job while you're injured. So the best thing to do is don't be injured. But those guys both played at a high level and kind of said, okay, we're going to lean on those guys. So they've done a tremendous job. But they give us a kind of a 1-2 punch, and we always kind of have a fresh guy to go with. And then within a drive, when a guy gets a few carries in a row and you can start to see him get worn down a little bit, we're able to get him subbed in, and the guy we sub in, there's no drop-off.
Would you ever go I've seen it in practice, you could play both of them together.
Oh yeah, and we had it. We did one series the other day where we were in a 20 personnel deal and went down the field, and someone Darwin scored the touchdown on. G. Bright made kind of the key block on the backside, so he could spring it through there and all that. And we've got as guys get dinged up and injuries and all that, it kind of gave us the opportunity that we weren't going to be able to be in 11 as much as we'd like. I mean, 11 personnel is kind of our chosen personnel, but when guys get dinged up or guys are going to be limited in reps, and we got to work into 20 personnel or 10 personnel. We did one series of 10 personnel the other day too, where we had both of the H's were in. Jordan and Vons were in. We went down, and actually that was a touchdown Jordan caught, was on our 10 personnel drive.
Coach, is it true you bought a sauna at the coach's office?
We do have a sauna here now, and it's Coach Wells okayed and everything, so we have a sauna. It helps. I enjoy saunas at night, so I use it before I go home at night and go to bed. So yes, I'm a kind of a sauna guy.
That's how you take care of the end of the day.
Yep, that's my last 45 minutes every night, is sitting in there and sweating and watching YouTube or listening to whatever on the Google Mini we got connected in there and listening to it. But I'm a sauna guy. I like massages too, but we haven't been able to get a masseuse hired for that time.
Sauna and masseuse, that would be perfect.
That would be
the sauna
unbelievable.
and then the massage and then go home.
Yep, and that's. You guys are easy.
So this it seems like everybody just wants to talk about how fast this offense plays and how well they do it and how efficiently. What changed between last year and this year? I mean, did play calling change at all, or was it just guys buying in and doing it better?
Well, I think it's them doing it over and over and over again. I mean, and you guys have seen practice. I mean, you see how we practice and how we do it. And the kids it's just kind of it's a cultural thing now. I mean, we play fast. When we had the bye week and our young kids got a bunch of reps and everything. Guess what? They go fast because it's the only way they know. We really don't do anything in practice or anything within the program that's ever kind of slowed down or just trying to get through it. It's always we're going to do it as fast as we can and that. But as you do things over and over and over again, our kids have gotten better at it, finding little ways to kind of cut their time in between, but also they're playing at a faster rate because there's a lot less thinking. Because we're really outside of just a very small amount. There's really no new plays from when we first started putting this in 2 springs ago. When we call a play, they have a lot of background history of that, and they have a lot of stuff in their database, and they're able to kind of go out and play really fast. So they look faster on the field too. But and we want to push the tempo, and the offensive line sets the tone for that. And if you watch, I mean, Quinn and all those guys up front, just by them always kind of heading to where the ball ends up, either on a pass play or a run play, they're kind of there. And Quinn gets set as quick as anybody I've been around, which makes the guards get set, which makes the tackles get set. And we talk about all the time, the line should be the first group all set because the receivers have a little farther to run sometimes, but how fast can we get the ball snapped? And some weeks it's more often we try to go fast than others. Last week wasn't really our plan to go as fast as we could at a high rate. The Air Force game was kind of a plan. We want to go as fast as we can, as often as we can, and it worked in kind of our favor. Last week it was kind of like, well, we've got our fast plays and everything, but we definitely want to slow things down because we got a couple wrinkles or a couple things we kind of want to see before we do it and everything. But the kids have bought into it. It's just kind of how it goes now. So they kind of like it. I mean, we get through practice faster than our reps and plays and practice. We get done with a minute and a half still on the clock, and coach is good about it's not let's get 6 more plays in. That's water down, get ready for the next period. We're doing the work we need to do, continue that, but be efficient in what you do. In that
There
way.
are a lot of advantage for having the reputation to the opposition thinking, oh, gee, now we're going to run into this or what. There's some of that involved in it too, isn't there?
Oh yeah, we're much more of we're going to out execute you as opposed to out scheme you, and that's a philosophy that I have that our staff kind of has all bought into. In that we're going to try to do some things to take advantage of what you're doing, but predominantly we're going to do what we do and try to do it as well as we can. And we're going to look for little reasons. If we get into this formation, it gives us an advantage, or we get in this formation, it gives us an advantage. But for the most part, we want to be who we are and just do it at a high efficiency rate as fast as we can to keep the pressure on the defense. And we've seen it. I mean, the last 2 weeks, I think right now we're at we've gotten blitz from the last 2 opponents 4 times in 2 games, which that's way below their average and everything. But we've been pretty efficient against blitz on the season, so they have to kind of weigh their options. Do we really want to blitz? Is it going to give us an advantage? And some teams will. I mean, I expect Wyoming this week will pressure us. That's part of their package. They're not a heavy blitz all the time type team, but I'd be surprised if they're not blitzing us more than the 4 times we've seen in the last two games, especially on 3rd downs.
Coach, what have you seen out of Henry Columby in regards to his improvement from fall camp to now after having some game experience, and what's something you want to see from him be improved as you head towards the end of the season?
He took a big stride. It was kind of about the 6th practice of spring ball. He kind of went from being a freshman that we were redshirting to all of a sudden being a number 2 quarterback, and that's kind of when we got to a point and started to feel like, okay, and what you're always trying to work on with the quarterbacks is the first thing they got to know what they're doing, and then the next thing is they got to kind of run the show and get everybody else on the right page. But then are you winning because of them, or are you winning in spite of them? Is kind of how the quarterback normally works and everything. And he's getting to the point now, and he's practicing to this level. And when he's winning the game, for the most part, and he has a high standard that we hold him to, because he's also being compared to Jordan Love, who's playing at a high level. But if you compared how Henry's played in his time compared to what Jordan did last year in his kind of number 2 role behind Kent at that time, Henry's really probably played as well or a little bit better than what Jordan did early on, with being able to kind of run the show and get everybody on the right page and everything. And the next thing, and we talked about this morning going through that video, is kind of he's getting past the point now where he's just worried about himself. It's now, how's the offense doing when you're in there? Because you're ultimately responsible, and that's where Jordan is taking a big step. He doesn't really evaluate himself on how he plays. He evaluates himself on how we perform as a group, and he kind of takes it personal when we don't go score. He's bothered by it as much as I am in that way, and that's part of how quarterbacks kind of matriculate through the process, to where it's not just, well, I did all the right stuff. it's somebody else. It's like, hey, we got to go score. It becomes a we factor with those guys.
Proud of our guys and our coaches, our assistant coaches for the performance on Saturday. It was good all around. There were times it was a little ugly. There were a stretch there at the end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second quarter, where we were lights out on offense and on defense, and I thought we complemented each other very, very well. And we got down 7-0. I think there were 4 minutes to go in the first quarter, and something like that, right around the 4-minute mark, maybe 4 minutes. We got a stop on defense. We went 4 and out, 4-play, touchdown, 3 plays, interception, touchdown, another 4 and out, block punt, touchdown, a 3 and out, touchdown. And then I think they went on an 8-play series. We did force a punt, scored again, and then all of a sudden it's 35-7. And so the play that complemented each other, offense and defense, was excellent. There's, it was a little bit of a sloppy fourth quarter. The guys that get in need to be a lot more accountable to their teammates and the program to play a little bit better, and we expect them to play better and play at a high level when they get in. But it's good video. It's good to teach off for those kids to come in, and they'll learn from that. And so anyway, great job by the team and the staff, to win last week, and could have been a trap game for us very, very easily, coming off a big emotional win in a rivalry, the BYU game, and I thought our preparation was pretty good. Now we got to intensify our efforts a little bit this week. We got to kind of bring a little bit more intensity to the focus, and not longer, not harder, but just intensify it a little bit and be a lot more urgent in our preparation, because each step is a little bit tougher and each step is a little bit harder, and each step means a little bit more. So it's round 3 for us in the Mountain West, and it's an opponent that last time we went to Laramie, we got beat. We didn't get beat. We actually got boat raced, and I remember that. We got our tails handed to us. It's a tough place to win. It's a program that has my respect. Craig Bowl has come in there and completely flipped that program, their mindset. They're a bunch of tough guys. They're blue collar. They're physical, and so I know what we're getting into, and we need to be able to go in there and understand the matchup that we have and the team that we're going to go play against, and that's a program that I got a lot of respect for. So anyway, I guess that kind of recaps it all. So go ahead and open for any questions. Al, start us off.
Well, Jordan Love's Player of the Week, but David Woodward's not. I mean, I know you can't, you don't get to decide that and all, but I mean, can a guy have a much better defensive game in some ways?
Yeah, to be real frank with you, I should probably have been better prepared to answer this question. Congrats to Jordan Love, very well deserving, but how David Woodward doesn't get it, I don't know, but I'm not even sure who got it or what his stats were, so I'll leave that out there. I'm not actually real. I'll comment on David Woodward. Excellent game, very productive, and some plays behind the line of scrimmage. He continues to increase his level of intensity every week. He prepares well, and I think he's going to be a really good player as the year goes on, and the next 2 years in this defense. He's in the right place at the right time in the right defense, and he's an excellent player.
Let me ask you, he's a running back in high school, and I guess he played some defense.
Yeah.
But did you identify him all the way at that point? It kind of like he acted like he was coming in to be a linebacker, right? So where does that identification come and all that?
Well, I and we like to recruit athletic linebackers that can move positions. We've always thought that. He reminded me a lot of Nick coming out of high school. High school tailback, safety, kind of an outside backer. He kind of played a spin down safety a little bit. Nick was a high school tailback. Nick was a cover 2 safety. that just came off the hash and blew people up. And I remember Nick coming out of high school and evaluating him as the offensive coordinator. And I remember telling Gary, yeah, we'll offer him at H-back, tight end. And I think he would have made an excellent H. Gary said, yeah, thanks for your opinion. He's going to play linebacker. And, David fits that same mold. Chase Christiansen's a high school option quarterback. Elijah Shelton is a young linebacker that played receiver and DN. Kyler Fackrell was a high school quarterback, free safety, wide receiver, and volleyball player. And now he's playing outside linebacker for the Packers. So it's about, for us, it's athletic guys that we project, down and then eventually inside. Nick was very similar or David is very similar to Nick in that they both started outside in our F position and have moved inside to, the rover position.
Coach, speaking of talented defensive players, Wyoming's got a few that will probably be playing on Sundays. And what is it about this Wyoming team that makes them so tough to game plan for, in their defense specifically?
Well, they're just good players, and good players make good schemes, and good players make good coaches. And I think they're the recipient of that, and so is Utah State. And we have good players too, and it makes us look better as coaches. Their defensive line is very, very strong. They're active. They got an active 4-down D-line. They're long, they're tall, and they're long. Is the best defensive line we've seen since Michigan State, and they may be equally to Michigan State. I haven't watched them as much right now here on Monday, but they are easily the best that we've seen since the opening game. Logan Wilson mans the middle. He's a really good middle linebacker. Wingard, I've seen enough of him. It's about time for him to graduate. He is an excellent player with excellent range. Just a solid, tough-nosed football player. I have a lot of respect for a lot of those guys on that defense.
It just seems like some of those guys bring a different dynamic. Like Granderson has a pick 6 this year. He had an interception against you last year. Daffian, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. He has like 4 or 5 pass breakups this year. So, just how dynamic are those guys and their ability to make plays in many different ways?
Yeah, they're athletic and long and tough. So they're not just pass rush guys. They can stop the run. They got some girth and some strength to them. They move and they slant. We got to be ready for that. Carl got a pick last year on a nice little twist game that we hadn't seen, and got Jordan. So they do a lot of things very, very well.
Then on the other side of the ball, though, they've struggled, at least producing points, yards, and things like that. But it sounds like in hearing from Coach Patterson, he feels like they've got a big, strong quarterback who's elusive, and they got a good running back, and they got some talent too.
Yeah. He is big, strong with a big arm, and I think Nico is an excellent running back. Right now, stat-wise, he's the best in the league. So that is a major challenge for our defense, is to go face the best back in the league right now.
I hear coaches say all the time how tough it is to play in Wyoming, and I've never been to a game out there. What is it about that atmosphere that just makes things so tough?
I think they got tremendous support there in Laramie. Those fans show up. Doesn't matter what the weather is. It doesn't matter what the record is. They are very faithful and very, very loyal. They're loud. You always have weather issues. Coached there once and had an 1.5, 2-hour lightning delay when I was at New Mexico. There's wind, there's weather, there's, you add all that together, and then you put all that together, and then the product on the field is very, very tough, very, very well coached. That program is completely different than 4 or 5, 6 years ago. They've done a really nice job of changing the culture and the mindset, and they've got a very, very tough-minded mentality.
Can you quickly tell us about your relationship with Keith Patterson before, and what the 6 games you have seen in the offseason, all you've seen of him here?
Yeah. I've known Keith Patterson since he was a high school coach in Oklahoma. and then he was a high school assistant in Texas after that. I've known him just from recruiting his schools. We both grew up in small town Oklahoma, 2 different small towns in Oklahoma. And then we were certainly on staff there the entire time at Tulsa, University of Tulsa. We both recruited the state of Oklahoma together, oftentimes in the same car. You know, between he and I, we signed a ton of those kids that we were able to go in there and flip that program at Tulsa, and it was really fun. You got 2 guys, that was both our home states, and we had a great time doing it. We had a great friendship, really, really close to him. Stayed close just over the years, and the timing was right to hire him this off season, and it was right for me. It was right for him. He's one of the best teachers, motivators and recruiters, kind of all put into one that I've been around. He is very thorough. He is, you know, he's simple, thorough, aggressive. There's a lot of adjectives I would use to describe him, but he's a great person. He cares. He's got a huge heart. Kind of like me, wears his emotions on his sleeve sometimes, but he cares about those players. And the players have done a great job of really opening their arms and welcoming him in here. And I respect this about him, is he allowed himself to learn what we do, to learn our ways here at Utah State, and then put his flavor on it and tweak some things and change some things, either programmatically or things I do or things we do on defense. But I just respect the way he came in here, and I think our staff respected that and our players respected that, it's been a good fit so far.
Well, players always have mentioned him being the difference on defense when we talk to him individually. Has there been a lot of real change in Utah State's way of playing defense, Coach?
Well, a lot of the terminology stayed the same. It's no different than, you know, from Dave Aranda to Todd Orlando to Kevin Clune to Frank and Kendrick to now Keith. The nuts and bolts of this defense has stayed the same. It's about fundamentals. It's about tackling. It's about a mindset, all those kind of things. And then the scheme is all similar, but yet it's tweaked. We were different on defense from 2013 to 2014. Same defense coordinator, Todd Orlando. But it was kind of based on our players and their strengths. And that, I mean, 2013, we had 4 out of the 5 DBs played in the NFL for a while. Played a lot of man coverage. 2014, we played a lot of zone, ran a lot of zone dogs and zone pressures and those kind of things. And so Keith has certainly come in and put his flavor on it and twist on it, but he's simplified. He's I think, allowed our guys to play faster into their abilities, but he also does a tremendous job of holding them accountable for their actions and demanding that they play at a certain level, and they've responded in a very good way.
It's pretty crazy to think these guys haven't really been on the road since the end of August against Michigan State, and that's got to be a big part of team bonding is those road trips. So how excited are these guys to go out there and
we went on the road to BYU and won.
Okay, outside the Beehive.
That's a road game.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we bonded pretty well. I think our guys played together pretty well. So getting on an airplane's not going to change that.
That's better than the bus rides used to be to Laramie.
I've driven to Laramie before. Yeah. I'll take the charter plane.
I'll let you know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, there's no specific special teams coordinator. I don't know if that's something new at
Well,
all.
we're still talking about this. You guys can't figure this out, can y'all?
Well,
Keep going. It seems like I've answered this every week. Go ahead.
never knew. What have you learned about your coaching staff doing that, spreading out the duties?
What have I learned? The special teams coordinator duties, we've spread them out in terms of specific units. I've had a big hand in it. Jason Shoemaker, who's our senior analyst for special teams, who's been a former special teams coordinator at couple different schools, has had a big hand in it. You know, Stacy Collins, Frank Miley, and DeAndre Smith all head up the 4 main units. Steve Farmer heads our field goal block team up. Stacy Collins heads up the field goal team for Farmer and field goal block team for Coach Collins. But every assistant in our program, including some of our GAs, have a hand in coaching in there, except David Yost. Keith Patterson coaches on it. So I think the importance is emulated to our players by how many coaches coach on it, the time spent, the meeting time spent, the walkthrough time spent, the practice time spent that we dedicate to special teams. And then ultimately, I believe you can tell the importance of special teams by who you play on it, and we're going to play our best players on it. Our best players are going to play on special teams, and everybody knows that in this building. And we'll be smart about it, but, I mean, the best players are going to play, and you see them, and every one of our starters starts on at least one. Special teams, all the skill guys that I'm talking about. Darwin Thompson started at running back and ran down on kickoff cover. I mean, we're playing our best players on special teams, and we've done it since I've been here, and that won't change. And so the level of importance is really high. I was very disappointed in how we played special teams at the BYU game. I thought our effort was poor. It was embarrassing to put it on tape. This week, our effort was much better in special teams. So I like that. We did not play very well in special teams. We did some good stuff, and we did some poor stuff that we got to get cleaned up in a hurry. We caught a punt inside the 5. We fumbled a punt. Okay. We missed 2 red zone field goals. I thought our field goal protection was poor. That will be absolutely already has been addressed and will continue to be addressed, and that unit will get lit up this week in practice. And so there is some stuff that we have got to do much, much better. Now, we covered kicks with a tremendous amount of effort, better. We kicked balls out of the end zone, into the end zone, out of the end zone, 7 out of 10. That's an excellent rate. We protected our punt pretty well. And so we did some good stuff on special teams. We blocked a punt, returned it for a touch. That's a tremendous momentum changer. So I actually kind of didn't want to address the special teams coordinator. I kind of didn't like the beginning of your question, but I love talking about special teams. Okay, and so I think I've addressed it pretty thoroughly for the last couple of weeks.
Is Wyoming good on special teams?
Wyoming is good. I have not seen all their special teams tape yet. I've just watched probably a third of it as of right now, but any Craig Bowl coach team is going to be very, very sound on special teams. I've seen that in competing against his teams the last several years. They are very sound. They're smart. They're very fundamentally sound and schematically sound, both. It's hard to find any leaks in their special teams. They've always been that way.
I got to ask a question.
All right.
Observing the game, the play you threw to Jalen Green, touchdown, were you going to look over to the sidelines on that play, and when Quinn saw the guy jump offside, he snapped the ball?
Yeah, he jumped off sides, and so that was a 3 guys doing their job, the center and the QB and the receiver. So
I thought it looked like it was going to be a little
yeah,
bit almost.
yeah.